Pavel, good to see you as always, and thanks for giving us a bit of time. Thanks for coming and having a chat about what you're doing because what you're doing is pretty interesting. So I'm grateful for that. So let me start this conversation by asking you. I mean, tell me about the moment that you thought Hardwario can be a global player. I mean, tell us about that moment when you thought this could be a global business.
So the moment, the intent was there just from the beginning.
Right.
And we had confirmation because the partners from abroad raised interest in our technology, in our product. And this already happened in fairly early days of the company. So um, when we started, it didn't take long. We went to the exhibition in Germany. It was
Right.
IFA. I remember those days. It was like 6 days straight standing on the booth. But that gave us a confidence that even a small Czech startup, hardware startup company starting in IoT domain can raise some interest in abroad. And the year later, we established the UK entity. So um, we were trying to go beyond the borders for the past 7, 8 years already,
Right.
and definitely we have to keep this pushing because the local market still plays a very significant role for hardware. And no way we are giving this up. We love local markets. We are from the Czech Republic, a team of 70 people, 30 almost in R&D. And we feel that this industrial IoT space is huge still in the early days of the adoption. And we have established already two subsidiaries, one in the UK, one in the US, which came in 2022, just before we did IPO. And it was even in the proposition for our investors when we got publicly listed that we will be pushing the expansion, sales expansion.
Okay. And tell us about how you approached that task. So, what I mean, you realized that it could be a global business. How did you then approach the process of turning it into a global business? I mean, tell us about your thinking. I mean, how did that work for you?
Mhm. So we built a business through partnerships, and for us, it is always important to first get some lead in abroad. And we were lucky to have this lead from a company called Accelera, with which we have been doing the business in the US and in Canada for the past 3 years. And that's always a trigger when we will push even more for the local market because you already have somebody who can also help you there. And together we did amazing product. We did GrainLink, which is a system for monitoring grain silos.
Right.
And we have been deploying this for the past 2 years in Canada, and it's already a recurring business and helping the farmers to save a lot of efforts and also to give them real insights about the grain in the silos. And we are trying to foster these partnerships. It's usually a long-term journey.
Yeah.
We don't believe in quick wins. So together we are usually working on a meaningful product which has a great return of investment, brings savings or prevents failures, and really helps the businesses to optimize their processes. So it doesn't start with like territory. Okay, we go here and there, but usually sometimes by a matter of randomness, we get a lead, we get a reference, and we start exploring what the local market, what the opportunity is in there.
Yeah. So what you're saying is it's dependent on finding a good partner in that area, in that region. Yeah.
Yeah, yes,
And
absolutely.
and how do you go about working out whether they're a good partner? I mean, I certainly follow the logic, but it's easy to say find a good partner. It's a bit more difficult to do in practice, isn't it? I mean, how do you work out whether they're a good partner or not?
Yes, we have been pioneering the partnerships for already a few years. I believe that in the context of Hardwario, the partnership has to be a two-way street.
Yeah.
So not only that they work with us to in the end buy our solutions, but we also try to connect dots. So very often it happens in the industrial IoT domain that something similar comes sooner or later, and we help them to connect the business leads to their accounts. So that's how we see it. It's like really an ecosystem, if you
Yeah.
like, when we speak hardware partnerships. So we have all kinds of partners in various domains. I should have said that hardware itself doesn't position itself to a specific vertical, but we have partners in agriculture, healthcare, pharma industry, energy sector, manufacturing, and similar.
Right. Okay. And in terms of those partnerships, I mean, I mean, how much time and energy does it take to get a partnership to work? I mean, do you send people over there? Do they come to you? I mean, how do those things work in practice?
Yeah, so funny enough, I don't have like some specific magical system that I would give you a cookbook and say this is how you find partners. It's a hard work, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes to build the trust and to really get us into that state that we can call them partners. Of course, we can have some paper signed, but that doesn't mean that we are still like business partners. It takes sometimes months or even years. And we usually get the leads from exhibitions. We are very active in all sorts of conferences, exhibitions, not just in the local market, but also in the UK, Netherlands, US.
Mhm.
There is a show called IoT Tech Expo, in which we are regularly exhibitors for years. And sometimes it just clicks that the partner comes up, that there is a sudden urge. He's looking for somebody who can help him with the hardware, industrial IoT hardware ecosystem,
Mhm.
and he or they already have a software team and they can solve a problem in specific industry, and that's exactly the fit where we can bring a good value to our partnerships, because very often our customers are small software teams, integrators. It can even be individuals. We don't focus on large corporates. We have some cooperations with that, but usually it is much more flexible to work with small teams and let them grow. Let's grow together.
Yeah.
That's what we believe in.
Yeah. Which is a really a long-term play, isn't it?
It is, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the things that's interesting about these situations is you've got relatively small teams of people building quite big global footprints, which means, certainly from my perspective, it looks to me like the job of the CEO is quite a tough gig. I mean, how do you approach leading leading an organization in that setting? I mean, how do
Hmm?
you see your role as a CEO? How do you approach that?
So our organization has grown quite a bit recently. Basically, we have pretty much tripled over the past
Right.
2 years, and especially in the past couple of months, we have hired quite a bunch of people into uh, a division we called custom production. We have a big project in this area, but also to R&D and also to management. And I think that's the key, because once you steer forward organization of 10, 15 people, somehow you can still do it in fairly flat structure.
Yeah.
You don't have much room to build any sort of management. But once you cross this trigger, and that is the lesson I have learned. I should have started a little bit earlier, building the management team. Today, I'm very lucky that we already succeeded to hire the right people in these positions, and so we have a person who is responsible for technical support, for R&D, engineering management, for You have chief delivery officer for product and project management. So all sorts of critical position that are now helping me to drive the company forward.
Hmm. And I know you've invested a lot in the company personally, haven't you? I mean, you bought out your co-founders, I think. I mean, how did you make the
I
judgment?
took quite a bit of that.
Yeah, how did you make the judgment that, I'm prepared to invest all this money because I know it's going to be a success? I mean, how did you figure that out? Because I mean, I think it's a very interesting sort of judgment call that because I mean, most businesses fail, don't they, in the early stages?
It is true. Definitely, I agree that I have taken a significant risk. On the other hand, I have huge faith in the team, in Hardwario, in what we do, and in our business partners. So yes, it is hard work on one hand, but also we get a lot of trust from our investors. So I decided to just take full responsibility on my shoulders and can go forward with my teammates, and they are amazing. Like there are people in the team who have been with us from the beginning and supporting me and the growth and development. And we have very low fluctuation.
Right.
And yes, we have many challenges. Of course, people feel that once the company grows, things are much more smooth because people already have some responsibilities,
Yeah.
dedicated roles. So that's a benefit. On the other hand, of course, it is always connected. That there is sometimes a bit of let's say more complex structure in communication. Some things which took faster to decide before now take a little bit more time, and we are taking careful decisions. So this is all related, but I think it's a very natural path of growth of any company of our size.
Mm. And one of the interesting things about your market is there's a lot going on in the IoT space. I mean, how do you keep a competitive edge? How do you make sure that you're, one step ahead of your competitors? I mean, how do you think about that competition process?
Mhm. Because myself, I am a tech founder and being hardware and embedded engineer for the more than 20 years.
Mhm.
I love innovation and learning. So the way I really try to even keep the team focused and customers engaged, we constantly innovate. It might not be always good, but at least somehow it works for us,
Mhm.
and we sell it as a feature that we go really through continuous innovation cycle, and we maintain our SDKs for the devices basically on daily or weekly basis. We keep pushing the products forward. We keep supporting them, and we emphasize building the products with not for just the cost benefit, but for, let's say, long-term maintainability.
Right.
Because once you deploy industrial IoT product, given the fact all these cybersecurity pressures and regulations, you need to be able to support it for long term. So we carefully pick the components we put in designs with long life cycles and good software support. This is why, for example, we cooperate with silicon vendors like Nordic Semiconductor, who really understand that that is absolutely mandatory to put a very high focus in agile software development and continuous
Right.
maintenance.
Right. So you're constantly on the move, really, innovating, developing new
Always,
products. Yeah.
yes. But it's like sort of balanced here, constantly on the move with upgrades and technical support for the product. Long-term technical support, on the other hand, very stable. Once we deploy the product in the market, we keep just supporting it right from the beginning of the company. We haven't truly discontinued a product.
Right. Okay. And I mean, in terms of the team that you've got, I mean, I know it's growing quite rapidly. I mean, one of the things about having a small team and a big global footprint is that you've got to, I mean, that team needs to perform pretty successfully. They need to be a pretty high performing team. I mean, how do you, I mean, as the leader of the business, how do you ensure that your team is operating at maximum effectiveness? I mean, how do you do that?
That was a real challenge, honestly. Yeah, because when I was myself in the CTO role and I could really dedicate time to engineers on daily basis, I could feel difference. And I mean, my boys are amazing. They can perform very well, but I can also compare and see what it takes to be busy as a CEO and not having the ability to spend with them every day, but rather having an update every week. And I realized that we as a company, we lose a lot of opportunity in this aspect. And especially for engineers, 1 week is a long time to really
Yeah.
lose the focus because the people are very creative and they can always give themselves a lot of interesting tasks. On the other hand, this can be a good amount of misalignment with your business intent. So again, I was pretty lucky in the past couple of weeks that we managed to hire a person I've known for years as engineering director, and there is a very clear incentive to help me really to spend good time with them, explain the context, track the tasks, deadlines, and everything. And I think we are on the right track. And myself, I'm not the best in like operative management. I like to really define product strategies, talk to key customers. These are the roles I can and I should dedicate some time for myself. On the other hand, there are better people around who can really precisely track projects and tasks and keep also focus on figures. This is also a very important aspect. We are now implementing new ERP, and we need much more robust and solid reporting, real-time reporting than we used to have before. So everything when the company grows gets really much more complicated. A lot of overhead, a lot of burden uh, is just lands on your shoulders, and we are sort of navigating through this transformation.
Yeah. I mean, one of the other things that's interesting about the technology space is change is pretty constant. I mean, and lots of people don't adapt very, they don't like change really. I mean, how do you manage that constant change? I mean, you talked about constant innovation. I mean, how do you manage that change process and managing people's responses to that? And also, how do you deal with things like failure? I mean, stuff. I mean, with innovation, stuff goes wrong
Mhm.
sometimes, doesn't it? I mean, or stuff doesn't work properly or whatever. I mean, how do you manage change and failure? I mean, what's your take on those issues?
Yeah, I'm the kind of person who is super dynamic about changes, and the team has already sort of learned that we are on constant move, constant change,
Mm.
uh, and we experiment. And I think it's very much related to your second question about the failures. Uh, Over the years, I learned to actually sort of, it will sound weird, but to welcome failures. It's
Yeah.
like an opportunity to really upgrade ourselves. So I'm trying to set up the culture where we should speak about failures in a very open manner. Don't hide anything. Actually, if you find something weird or something has failed, share it. You will not be sort of punished or so. Yes, we have to be a little bit careful in hardware manufacturing domain.
Mm.
So on one hand, I'm super innovative in especially in the software field, but sometimes a little bit conservative in terms of production, verification, and other stuff because you don't want to make failures in hardware production. That costs a lot of money,
Yeah.
and sometimes fixes could be eventually impossible. So I'm also trying to regulate even some of our customers who are not very experienced in the manufacturing domain to really split and go step by step when we are setting up a new product and production to not to go from a few units to thousands straight away, it really needs to pass some test of time. So yes, failures, natural part of the company evolution.
Mm.
Um, I welcome them almost equal like successes. Of course, yeah, failures is you probably want to hear more successes than failures, but to me, it's just something. Okay, yeah, we have to deal with it. It's like a game. It's a it's like a new boss in the level. You have to beat it and move forward next level.
Yeah,
So
I mean, you can't. What was it that people say? I mean, what cannot be avoided must be welcomed. I mean, you can't avoid failure. Stuff goes wrong, doesn't
no, no, you can't.
it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so tell me about going into new markets. So I know you're in multiple markets now. I mean, when you thought, okay, we're going to go into the US, I mean, how did you approach that? What was your, if you like, your market entry strategy? How did you decide the US was the right place? How did you approach it? How did you find a partner there? I mean, talk us through your kind of your approach to market entry.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I will completely recall our thought process back then with my peer when we were establishing the US entity, but there were a few good reasons. One of them is that in the US, the native language is English.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not native speaker, you can tell, but at least this is the language we are comfortable with. So we were already in the UK, and US offers a big market opportunity. Australia is lovely. I love Australia, but the market is not that big. So
Mm.
I think it was fairly clear call why we go to the US, and we wanted to also expand. And when we were putting together a prospectus to our investors before IPO, it was one of the highlights. Yeah, we will establish the US entity and put some of the investment we have raised as a working capital into the abroad expansion. Um, it is actually quite hard, to be honest,
Yeah. Yeah.
to build businesses abroad as a company. Even though that I believe that we are pretty high in the technology as a company in from Central Europe to set our position in the US, it takes quite a bit of effort and time. Not saying it's impossible, but either it requires your presence or massive investment.
Or
Uh,
both.
or both,
Or
yes.
both. Yeah.
Uh, we have some traction, but it's we have like, to be honest, two active partnerships in the US. One is bigger, one is just ramping up, and yeah, the bigger one was actually established already before we started the entity. Yeah, so for us it was like, okay, yeah, we have a customer in the US, so that's probably a good idea. Yeah, to also be present there, we will get more traction.
Yeah.
And really, we got one very good deal with a big utility company in the US. In the end, for funny reasons, it didn't work out, but we were very successful. We went through very large corporate in the US. We got trained, we got approved on multiple levels. It was a very nice structured pilot with multiple phases. In the end, they decided when there was supposed to be a big decision to, okay, we passed all stages successfully to go ahead and do big deployment. And the board said, okay, we will not take the technological approach. We got an idea. We will take a chemical approach. Yeah, I will not go into details. Yeah, but it was like, oh, what? So that was a big setback because it was back then in 2023. It was supposed to be the biggest project of Hardwario, and it was a
Right.
disappointment. In the end, we had to get over it and move forward. But yeah, at least when we said that, okay, we managed to set up a partnership with this utility company, it was already a good reference for many US companies. So I would say that it takes a lot of effort, time, investment, but also a bit of luck to get to
Yeah.
good names, good contacts as usual in the business.
Yeah. And have you been affected? I mean, this is a very current question. I mean, President Trump's tariffs and all the kind of game playing that's going on. I mean, has that affected you particularly with your US partners?
It it could have. The thing is that when I heard about 104% tariffs from President Trump, I was like, oh, yeah, that's great because suddenly, all these super super cheap things from China will become super expensive, and it will be a nice market opportunity for Hardware. Well, measurably, I do not see any changes in that regard yet,
Right.
because the two accounts that we have right now, they're the orders come in waves, and we haven't yet gone through the updated tariffs or anything. So I would say currently on the sales side, the impact is near zero. On the other hand, speaking of the supply chain, I can already feel a difference. Just a few days back, we were talking to our module supplier, and they said, well, because of some material and because of the newly set up tariffs, yeah, we have a shortage and so blah blah blah, and we are increasing lead time. So I'm a little bit afraid that we can ultimately, if things do not settle, we can go through a new wave of extremely prolonged lead times, which is always very unfortunate situation for any
Yeah.
hardware vendor like us.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunate for any company, isn't it? It's not
Yeah.
good for anyone, really. And I mean, I don't want to carry on too much with the Trump theme, but you talked about partnerships earlier on. I mean, do you have a view about deal making, about, how you construct a deal with those partners? I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, Trump, that's his big thing, isn't it? He's a deal maker, apparently. I mean, what's your take on the deal making process?
So, deal making process. I should maybe also say that our there is nothing like really objective average deal closing size, closing date. It can be anything from a few days to 18 months, easy as that. It's usually a longer journey, sometimes requiring investments from our side, because before you really close a deal, you have to go through several stages, iterations of providing samples. Even though that mostly we sell the samples, it's like you are essentially losing money and investing into the pre-sales process for a very, very long time. So ultimately, usually after a couple of months, the decision is made, and you can sell hundreds or in some rare situations, thousands of systems. And then you are hoping, because you have already gone through development cycle, you are really hoping that this will cross this, pilot graveyard, how I call it,
Hmm.
because by statistics, approximately 80% of industrial IoT projects end up in a pilot phase. Usually not for technical reasons, but
Hmm.
exactly because of the things like I mentioned with that utility company, that it escalates the board, and then now they are valuing, okay, to put a lot of money on the table. And this is where really where it renders whether there is ROI and whether there is budget ready for that. So today we are very much careful and trying to explore every single business opportunity if really there is a good potential to take it from pilot phase, because we have been through so many pilots already, and yeah, I believe that sometimes even the statistics could be mild.
Yeah, I'm sure. And one of the things you've touched on, you talked about being very careful. I mean, which is really about managing risk, isn't it? And I mean, what are the things that keep you awake at night? I mean, your business is interesting because it's partly hardware, partly software. I mean, what are the things that keep you
Hmm.
awake at night that you worry about that make life difficult potentially?
What we do is we are trying to explore the level of commitment, potential commitment from a partner. And because very often they come up with a wonderful idea that completely aligns with the technology and the vision, where it's like the within scope, but it sometimes requires enormous amount of development time invested, and we are trying to explore the options. Okay, we can even say we are totally open to invest into this, co-invest into this. Just give us the commitment that let's assume that we will do it for free, the extreme situation. But can you give us commitment that you will purchase 1,000 pieces? Not immediately, 2 years, 3 years. That's something we can cope with, and we know that already after that amount of time, it will pay off from the gross margin generated on the product. Yeah, and suddenly this is one of the tools where you can explore how your potential clients react and start seeking because it's already a pretty solid offer, which in the end um, sort of transforms you into a real generated profit and saves them from potential risk.
Mm.
And this is the moment where when you can discover, okay, shall we go for it or not?
Yeah, which is a difficult decision sometimes, isn't it? And do you personally get involved in all those deals, or do you have somebody that you delegate that to? And how does that work?
A big pardon. Didn't understand
Yeah.
the
So
question.
the deals that you make with partners, I mean, are you very involved in those deals, or do you leave it to staff to agree the way forward on those things?
Oh no, usually, still today, I am mostly involved together with one of my sales teammate in all sales propositions, and we discuss them usually because he's more on the, let's say, negotiation side. I'm and preparing quotations. I'm more on like technical advisory and feasibility, but we exchange the roles here and there. Very often, my teammate is able to do already offers independently, but we have pretty good awareness. We think about the potential deals, opportunities every week. We go through it and we check it. What is quite important is that we also have a solid transfer from deal closing to order execution because Hardware is pretty strong in customization. That's our very good competitive advantage. There actually it sounds logical, but it's quite challenging to execute. Is the right transfer from how client perceives the goal, the
Mhm.
business sees it, and how you convey the message to the team
Yeah.
to really execute it. Yeah. So we are really focusing our efforts on making this ride smooth and more efficient. Yeah, so we have regular sessions. I'm sort of enemy of regular team meetings. We have had too many. I started eliminating them. But one of those where I feel it's very important to keep it is actually this business to delivery transfer. Yeah, to make sure that we really discuss each single order, recap it, clarified it, make it more precise on the specification, so no mistake preferably happens during that stage.
Yeah. I mean, it's about keeping the customer happy, isn't it? And making sure things work properly, which is about your reputation and about trust, it would seem to me.
Exactly. Yeah. You need to provide great service in terms of technical support. So what we do once the order is executed, we inform the customer about the order and the tracking number. And in CC, we always put the deal owner. So we already trigger subsequent tasks like onboarding of the customers, doing demo, making sure that really they know how to integrate it, and helping them and working closely together to set it up and integrate it within their systems.
Mm. And IoT, of course, is about generating data about stuff that's going on. I mean, do you help them with the data? Do you do that part? Do you hand it over to them? I mean, how does that part of the equation work? I mean, you talked a lot about getting the IoT stuff to customers and working. I mean, what about the data output part?
That's excellent question because hardware in the root of the name is the hardware, but actually it's the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
I usually say anything physical up to JSON in the cloud. So we also have our own what we call middleware cloud service, which has two basic core functionalities. It's data passing functionality. This is exactly what you just asked for. So we have REST APIs, and the customers can configure outgoing webhooks in the platform to their API endpoints. They can, of course, also visually inspect the messages. The message can be transformed in the data processing pipeline. But also the second key functionality is device management. So remote firmware upgrades, the remote shell console. So you can really open a non-model terminal window with your device or open multiple of these and chat with the devices. And very often we do low power battery powered devices that are able to operate for years somewhere in the field, in the forest, and gather data. So you sometimes have to wait for a couple of minutes before the device makes the initial handshake. So it reminds like chatting to Mars rover. But it works. It's much cheaper, right, than going in the field and doing something locally over Bluetooth or so, which you can. But when you are managing the bulk of devices spread across the country, you need a very solid platform to manage them in bulk. And this is exactly what we focus on. So we don't go into the IoT application space. We are not doing dashboards. Yes, we can integrate third-party solutions, but inherently we don't develop like complete IoT applications because this is the role of our partners because they know how to take these JSON data and process it on their side.
Right. Okay. So you've got partners both ways.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. No, I see that. And so, I mean, it's obviously been an interesting journey. I mean, and I mean, I think it's quite pretty exciting space, the IoT space. I mean, when you look back on that journey, I know you've been doing it for a while. I mean, what would you say you've learned from your experiences building the company?
Hmm. Uh, as with usual any startup company, there have been so many hiccups. We have even pivoted. We have to because the product we started, we still have it, we support it, but that was not a product that would be vital to sustain our bills. So we are still doing IoT from the beginning, but we had to refocus from do-it-yourself market or hobby market to B2B industrial market. So that was one thing. You can always say the lesson learned is that we haven't really done the proper market or product fit study. It's hard to say, right? In the beginning, the idea that we did was brave and it has definitely found its community. We had great feedback. But on the other hand, it's saturated sort of. Yeah, it found its customers, but didn't provide enough traction for the business growth. So that was one thing. The other thing is, as I already indicated, yeah, I would tell Pavel, learn to delegate stuff more earlier, find more peers to drive
Mm.
individual domains for R&D, for technical support, because at some point you really, during the team growth stage, you realize you can't handle it all. Yeah, and usually it's already late, and it's not too late. You can't fix it, but it's much more painful. That's my lesson learned that we are now sort of getting out of this, but it was a very messy ride that the amount of extra work to keep, uh, the products supported because I myself was embedded engineer for many, maintaining firmware, hardware, also doing technical support, and suddenly now you are receiving a lot of inquiries from the customers, and it's just impossible to. It's not sustainable long term. So this is something I started in a very late process, and now sort of catching up.
Mm. And just to go back to the conversation we were having earlier about the role of the CEO. I mean, how do you work out the stuff that only you can do and the stuff that you have to delegate to people? I mean, how do you work out what those things are? Because that's always a difficult challenge, I think.
Right. So I'm working on the model where I can just go away from the company and the
Right.
company can still run. Yeah,
Okay, that's what you're
that's
working toward. Right.
that's my really big goal. Not that I want to. No, I love the company. I want to stay. Don't take it wrong. But it's more about making a room so I can more focus on defining product strategies or visiting the partners in the field and negotiate key projects for the next term. So these are the goals that I want to achieve, and I have to delegate a lot of agenda, which is part of my daily routine to my peers.
Sure. And if you were to start again, I mean, if you were to go back right to the beginning again, I mean, what one piece of advice would you give yourself, knowing what you know now? What's the big piece of advice that you would give yourself if you were starting again?
Mm, take decisions more, let's say, carefully, because whatever you decide now and seems like an easy and instant fit will be your burden for the next
Yeah.
decade or so. I think it's what many startup founders don't realize when you really start some journey and you want to do it in a solid, trustworthy way, and you have to start support products in hardware domain. You have to really, really carefully consider what you want to deploy in the market,
Yeah.
and saying no to many of the opportunities and rather giving yes to a bigger one is the way to go. So nothing new to learn, but especially true for Hardwario. And yeah,
I mean, they
it's
say strategy is mainly about what you don't do. You know,
yes, the strategy is exactly you have to learn to what you don't want to do.
that's right. Yeah. And one last question. I mean, you've touched on, I mean, one of the things that comes across, I mean, we've had spoken on numerous occasions. I mean, one of the things that comes across is this kind of sense of the long term. You know, you have a long term view of the business and relationships with partners and so on. I mean, tell us about where you're going with the business. I mean, you're in multiple jurisdictions. I mean, very interesting business model, very different actually to other ones that I've come across. I mean, tell us about where you're going with the business. I mean, how do you
Hmm?
see the next few years?
Yeah, so we definitely want to align with the vision because we see it makes sense to really be supportive to our clients, releasing their hands with sometimes dirty world of hardware because you have to deal with so many problems, and many people starting their own businesses or trying to explore the hardware part of the business do not realize that there is a huge difference between having a prototype on the table and between having fully industrialized certified product. So our mission in this is to really help those to minimize the time to market and to keep our clients and make room for them to be focused on the added value of their businesses. So that is our mission in which we will continue. We also found out it doesn't have to actually be within the scope of our own products. If you
Right.
take it from a broader perspective, we are completely fine to also consult and even offer and help them to integrate third parties. We are open to this now much more than we used to be. And we also help them with the manufacturing part because sometimes they already come that they have IoT prototype, and we can help them if it is done well to sort of produce it because that requires quite a different set of skills. And if you don't want to go through all this journey selecting new partners, and you want to have stable and reliable logistics and supply chain and also some warehouse and all the processes around that, this is something where we can help and again let them focus on what can do best to bring the value around the whole solution in that particular industry.
Yeah, yeah. It's about, and it kind of comes back to the comments you were making earlier about building productive relationships with partners, isn't it? I mean, you've got to find a way to work with them because what they need is might be slightly different to what you need, but it's finding a way forward, isn't it, really?
Mhm.
Pavel, thank you for taking a bit of time. I know you're busy. Thank you for coming along, talking about that. Thank you for sharing that story. I mean, fascinating.
It was my pleasure, Paul. Yeah, thank you for having me on your show. It is my true pleasure because it's the second time and it's always very very good fun.
Good stuff. Good to speak to you, Pavel, and we'll catch up soon, no doubt.
Thank you. See you.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye bye.